Hey there, Rob Reed here. I'm the owner of Bison Fire Protection, and this is this week's Bison Bit. So, over the last couple of weeks, I have been talking about 20 years in business and some of the trials and tribulations, mainly the fun stuff. I'm always a positive guy, so I always focus on the positive things. So, the first years, of course, first 5 years were our startup years, and I kind of talked about all the great things that happen as a startup. Then there was the early middle years, and we went through a period of some pretty big growth and a lot of excitement. Now we're into what I'm going to call the late middle years. And this is where things got a little more interesting because as the company grew, we needed to start putting some infrastructure in place to keep up with it. And I mean, let's face it, I don't have a commerce degree or my MBA or anything like that. It was kind of a school of hard knocks, figure it out as you go. So it got to the point where I said, I need some help. If we're going to continue growing this thing, we got to bring in some consultants and people like that that can, help us along the way. And anyone that's used consultants knows that there's good and bad, and I've had some of both. So it's been an interesting ride through that period. But, we contracted out a bunch of work and learned some things about process and growth. And that was back in, I'm going to say, about 2012, where we needed to start adding that process and really going from a small business to a medium-sized business. And that in itself, that transition is a big deal. It's a lot of work and you have to be ready for it. And if you don't have the help, make sure you get it because there's no way a lot of businesses can do that on their own. And it's a very difficult, trying time to start adding things from that family size to really running a full-on business, multiple branches, multiple people. You're not the startup anymore. It's not the, 4 or 5 people, all hands on deck. It's a full-time job now. And I mean, it's always been a full-time job, but, new parts of the business come in. So that was 2012. In 2013, we added, because we knew we were growing, we had to add an ERP system. And okay, full disclosure, what a disaster. We brought in this system. They promised us the world. We were going to do all kinds of great things. We went in through this through a year, certainly didn't get the support we thought we were going to get. And it was a ton of work and a lot of disappointment, a lot of stress. I have to say, the team pulled together and did everything that they needed to do, everything we asked of them. But in the end, we ended up firing the ERP people, I should say, and we went back to our old system. And that's what we had to do because there was no way the system would function. That new thing just was not doing the job. And I guess in hindsight, 2020, I look at it and go, we dodged a pretty major bullet because the company that, the program we bought went out of business, wasn't picked up by anyone else. So we would have had absolutely no support. So it's funny how sometimes karma being what it is, you go through a difficult time. But as a good friend of mine says, it's the tough times make for tough people and you learn, you grow, so. With that being said, we figured that all out and moved on, through the time and through the period. 2014 was another big year for us in that, we did a little bit more minor expansion in that we moved into Ontario and bought a branch out in Kenora and added a third province to what we were doing at the time. And we're really, excited about where that would take us. So, a couple big things that were going on and some real focus on the inside of the business, focus on the infrastructure part of the business through that, I'll say the late middle years time. 2016 got a little more exciting again because we had opened our Brandon branch. It was an opportunity now to organically grow because we're once again doing a lot of work in that Brandon area, and the opportunity to grow, expand, and provide the services that we offer into that whole Westman area was very exciting for us. And again, the opportunities that presented themselves, we took advantage of. So as I say, there was good times, there was some bad times. I'm always going to say it this way in business. Every business is going to have its great days. Every business is going to have its hard times. And if you're talking to a business owner who says they haven't had hard times yet, it's one of two things. Either it hasn't happened yet or they're lying to you. So be ready. It's coming if you haven't already had it. But if you have a good team around you, you plan, you strategize, you have the right meetings, the right discussions, and the right structure, you get through that and move on. And we certainly have. So as much as that was a stressful time, again, lessons learned. There was no setbacks, only a setup. Good friend of mine knows what I'm talking about there. And we found the setup in that we were able to grow into new areas, and we missed what could have been an even bigger setback, being that company going under and us not having support on our accounting software. So again, you take your opportunities where they come. Now, as I've said, I've really, really enjoyed all of the comments that are coming in, all the different people that are now starting to subscribe on our YouTube page. Really appreciate everyone subscribing and listening in, because there's so much good information in there, not just on these Bison bits. The old Into the Fires are in there. I've got a bunch of did you knows in there about fire protection and fire business. And of course, a whole bunch of manufacturers information. So if you wanted to get up to speed on certain products, everything's in our YouTube page. So spend some time in there, as well as, of course, as I'm always seeing you on the different social media sites. So looking forward to seeing you. Take care. And we'll be back next week with part 4. Take care.